Hi everyone, this is Gwen Atkinson here at Let's Talk from the Heart. Something I've been thinking a lot about recently is change. We certainly here in the Northern Hemisphere are going through a change in the seasons. We're in the middle of autumn and heading towards winter, and looking out the window today, we're heading there quite fast and furiously at the minute. So, change. I work with women, and certainly women in their 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. Work with women through change, enabling myself to speak today, enabling women through change. Because I think as we get older, quite often we find change more daunting. And certainly the kind of change that's about empowering and helping women to create their own futures and actually still participate in a dynamic way which they choose. So I want to assist as many women as possible in being the architects of their own future. Certainly in this chapter of their lives. And I was absolutely inspired when I watched Grace and Frankie. It's a series on television, and it's about two women in their 70s. And I just thought, why don't we have more of this on television? And another very good film is The Book Club. They all seem to star Jane Fonda, but she is really quite an amazing icon. Okay, she might have done a bit of Botox or a bit of face surgery here and there, but she is still in charge of her life, being dynamic, being powerful, and still appearing as a performer and an accolade. I love her. I grew up with Barbarella and lots of Jane Fonda stuff. So the work I do is about enabling change. And it's interesting because I have struggled with it myself recently. I have struggled with the changes in my life. And I was reflecting back on what I've been through in terms of changes in the outside world. I actually am here in my business promoting online digital businesses and helping women to build their own online digital businesses because it's a really powerful way to move forward if that's what you choose, but you certainly can make it work for you. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about when as a younger woman, I actually remember a time when computers didn't exist. And I was on the front line as an activist objecting about computers coming into the workplace. And from a point of view of that they will be doing the jobs that people could do. And now, 40 years down the line, I'm promoting it and saying this is something that can actually add to your life. So, but it's really about back then being so naive that I was not aware how it wasn't a question of objection. It was a question of how can I accept what the inevitable and how can I move forward with this. And in a sense, that's what I'm dealing with now in my inner world. How can I accept this and make it work for me and move forward? I also remember a time when there weren't mobile phones. So this is a real indication of my age, isn't it? You know, and it's the kind of thing that you do as you get older. You reflect back on the past and say things like, I remember the time when there weren't blah, blah. So for me, there's a lot of memory. And I actually remember black and white television. And when the television would go off at night and there would be a bing as the television closed down. So, what a different world I lived in. And again, it's all about adapting, moving with the times and the changes that exist. And how do we do that? So, the past few days, I have been struggling to motivate myself and find the same amount of passion and interest. And I think that was primarily because I went on that amazing adventure to Austin, to a great marketing conference, lots of people, lots of activity. Um, and then I came home to just me and my computer. And I just lost my mojo a bit. I lost my direction. However, what I've realized is that it actually gave me an opportunity to reflect, take stock of where I was up to, what I needed to do, what I needed to finish, what I needed to start, and maybe look at where I wanted to go. And then I realized that this is the perfect time, isn't it? You know, we're coming, if we think of life in cycles and seasons, we're in autumn, at least we are here in England, we're in the autumn, and we're in the last stages of harvesting all that we've planted, seeded, grown this year. And we move into winter, and actually it is a time of rest. It's a time of reflection, and it's a time of looking at what we may want to start to germinate for the springtime. So I have been looking back on what I've achieved this year, what I've started, and what I've completed. But within all of that, what do I want to take forward? And it's a very good time to actually look at what you want to take forward without bringing a lot of activity to it. It's like now within the winter, everything's going underground, isn't it? Everything's going back to a time where like nature is losing all its foliage above ground, and it's going into the earth. And I think that's what we need to do. We go into ourselves and come to a more restful period with less activity, and we start to think about the seeds of what we want to grow next, and we take those seeds down into the earth and we allow them to settle and germinate quietly, peacefully and silently throughout the winter months. So, whilst I've been thinking about, in a kind of negative, reproachful way, I'm not being as dynamic, I'm not being as motivated. Consequently, then I'm thinking, why? I go into a bit of worry. And then I realise that this is exactly how I should be. It doesn't mean I stop working. It doesn't mean that I'm less productive. I just want to perhaps be less actively productive. Is that a good way of putting it? Yes, I want to slow down. So I need to select what I want to do. I kind of need to really manage my time and energy and look at what my priorities are. And then just create a lot of time for myself around reflection. So that's the change that I'm talking about at this present time. And it's not easy actually adapting to that change and allowing it and taking it on board, because we all live rather busy lives and we often are about what we need to do. And even the energy is now starting to build because we're moving towards Christmas. I can't believe it. Christmas hasn't even entered my consciousness, and yet I walked into the shops and it's everywhere. So you can feel that outside in the world, instead of us sort of calming down, all the messages are now about building up to Christmas and all that madness. So here is my message. Let us try to find the still place. I do it through breathing. I just put my hands on my heart and I bring my awareness away from my head into my heart and just breathe. And a very good one is, and I think I've mentioned it before, in for 5. Just breathe in for 5 and out for 5. And just do that for 5 or 10 minutes. Just come to that still place whenever you can. So I wish you all peace, stillness, and tremendous dreaming.